The Crazy Family. Once upon a time, there was a girl called Adaberga.
Who is the
She
robber?
was very beautiful, and everybody loved her. Adaberga's father was dead, with her mother and her 4 older brothers. She worked hard in the house. She fetched the water, cooked the food, and cleaned the compound.
Kenny is going across America by bus.
One day,
evening in summer,
Adaberga's mother
his bus
said to her
arrives
oldest son,
in a little town in California.
You are a man now. You must find
I
a
wanna
woman
stop here
and
tonight.
marry her.
Says Kenny
I
to
don't
the
want
bus
a wife,
driver.
the oldest son said. Is there
My
a motel,
sister,
Adaberga, do you
Adaberga,
know, looks after me?
Yes, there is
The
a
next
nice
day,
motel across the
Adaberga's
river.
mother said,
It's not expensive.
Please, my
Says
son,
the bus driver.
don't wait any longer. Go out and
Is there
look
a
for
bus
a
to
wife.
San Francisco tomorrow? Where can I find
Asks
a wife?
Kenny.
Her son answered. My sister,
Yes,
Adaberga,
There's a bus
is the
every
most
day.
beautiful girl
Says
in
the bus
world.
driver.
Where can I find a girl like
Kenny
her?
gets off the bus with his bag.
A week later, his mother said to him,
Have you looked for a wife yet? Have you found a girl?
I have looked for a wife, her
In
son
a street
answered,
in Los Angeles,
but I have not found
somebody
one.
is
I love my
robbing
sister,
a security guard
Adaberga,
outside a
and
supermarket.
I want to marry her. Then, she will
The
stay
robber
at
is
home
sitting
with
on
us
a
forever.
motorcycle and has a gun.
His mother was angry.
Give me the money. The robber tells
You can't
the
marry
security guard.
Adaberga. She is your sister.
Okay.
How can a man
Okay, says
marry
the
his
security
own
guard
sister?
and gives the robber the money.
Her son was angry too.
Then,
Mother,
the robber
he
rides
said,
away,
I will never
but a
marry
camera is taking
another
pictures.
woman. I want
After
my
the
sister,
robbery, the
and I will
supermarket
have her.
manager phones the police.
He spoke to his mother every day.
Yes,
At
he
first,
says, a
she
robbery.
was angry.
Yes,
But then,
long
she
blonde
began
hair
to listen to him.
and with a motorcycle.
A man or a
At
woman?
last,
We
she
don't
said,
know. Yes,
Yes,
we have some pictures.
my son.
Okay,
You can marry
quickly.
Adaberga. I will help you.
The oldest son was very happy. The second and third sons were happy too. Adaberga will stay at home with us now. They thought, we will never lose her. That evening, Adaberga went to the river to fetch water. Her mother in the little town, 50 kilometers away. Adaberga from Los Angeles. Pot. Kenny goes into the motel and walked home and asks for a room. She went to the door of the room 23. She wanted, says the man, to go inside at the desk, but he gives Kenny a key. Put his leg across the door. Thank you, says Kenny, and he goes
Brother,
up to his room.
Please put your leg down. I
An
want
hour
to come
later,
in.
Kenny comes down to eat. Her oldest brother
hungry,
smiled
he
at
thinks.
her. I am not your brother, he said. He sees a
I
girl
am your
arrive on a
husband.
motorcycle, and he put down his leg. She walks to the front desk, and the woman gives her
Adaberga
a key. Tried to go in again, but her second brother held his leg, says the woman, across the door. Desk.
Please,
I think
brother.
I know her face.
Let me come in.
Thinks Kenny. Is she somebody famous? I am not your brother. Her second brother said. Early the next morning, I am your brother-in-law. Kenny puts on the TV in his room, and he put down his leg. Is talking about Adaberga waited. The supermarket robbery. Her third brother's leg was across the door now. There are some pictures from the
What are you
supermarket
doing?
camera.
Please, brother.
Kenny watches the
Put your
news.
leg down. Let me come in.
The robber is somebody with
I am
long
not your
blonde
brother,
hair
the
and
third
with a
brother
motorcycle.
said. I am your brother-in-law, says the newsreader. He put down his leg. Suddenly, Kenny remembers Adaberga's mother sat at the motel desk. Is it her? Put her leg up. Is she the robber? Couldn't go inside.
Mother, please let me come in. Please, put your leg down.
I am not your mother. I am your mother-in-law.
He goes for breakfast. The girl is. She put down her breakfast at a table. Adaberga's fourth near the window sat beside the door. Kenny looks at her. Now, is it her? Disabled. He thinks his legs were weak. I think I know her. He lifted one leg with his hands. He walks across to her table. Can I sit
Brother,
here? He asks.
Why are you doing this to me? Please.
The girl looks up.
Let me come in.
Well, okay. Her fourth brother says, put down his leg. Kenny sits down. Yes, dear sister. You can come in. My name's Kenny, he said. He says,
Pleased to meet you. I'm Mel.
Where are you from? Asks Kenny. The next
San
evening,
Francisco.
Adaberga
I'm
went
going
to
there later
the river
this
again.
morning.
When
Where
she
are
came
you from?
home, her family was together
Boston.
in the hut. I'm going
Again,
across America
they
by
lifted
bus.
their legs against
and
her.
I'm going to San Francisco later. Again, this morning, her fourth brother let her come
Are
in.
you?
They did this
The girl
every day,
says,
week after week.
I don't like buses. I
One
like
day,
motorcycles.
Adaberga's fourth
Look,
brother said to
excuse
her,
me, I
Dear
need to make a
Adaberga,
phone call.
I want to go to the toilet. Please carry me
She gets up
outside and leaves the room. So, a young man near the door was watching Mel and carried him out to the fields. Why is he watching her? She stopped beside a field of teff. Does he know her face, too? Don't stop here, her brother said. She's the girl. I can't use this place. The teff will become dirty. Kenny goes to sit next to the young man. Carried him on. Hi. They came to a field of sorghum. Not here, said her brother. The sorghum is for our food. They begin talking. I don't want. Kenny tells Ned about the news of the robbery on TV. Ataburga carried him far away to a place.
Are you
full of
thinking that's
trees.
the same girl? He asks Ned.
Put me down
Ned
here,
looks across
her
at
brother
her.
said, and sit beside me.
I don't
Listen,
know.
I don't
Perhaps
need
it is.
to go to the toilet. I brought
What
you
can
here
we do?
because
says
I want to
Kenny.
talk to you. Our mother
She's leaving
brothers
soon.
have a plan
Let's
for
phone
you.
police. I think it's her.
Tomorrow, they are going
not
to
the
give you to our
police.
oldest brother.
Wait.
They want you to marry
Ned
him.
says quickly.
Kenny looks
Ataburga
carefully
was
very
at him.
unhappy. She cried. What's the matter? Are you afraid of something? He asks.
No.
What?
But perhaps
My brother wants to
she's
marry
got a
me,
gun.
but I can't marry my own
Is it her?
brother. It's a
Thinks
wicked
Kenny.
thing to do.
I want to know. Perhaps the money. I agree. From the youngest brother
is in her
said, room, but they will try to force you. Kenny goes
My
upstairs.
dear sister,
You must
suddenly,
run away. He sees
go
the
now.
girl again. She is coming out of room 17.
Where can I go? Who
Kenny
will help
watches
me?
her. She locks her door,
Ataburga said,
and goes
There were
downstairs. In her eyes now. How can I get into her room? God will
He
help
thinks.
you, her brother said. Then,
Be strong.
Kenny sees a
Go.
woman working in the motel. So, Ataburga
Excuse
ran
me.
away, says Kenny. Can you open the door of my room? She ran. My keys in the
ran.
car. Over the
It's room
fields,
17.
up the mountains, and down into the valleys.
Yes, of course.
She says, and
At
opens
last,
the door of room
she
17.
came to a
big river.
I
Thank
can't
you,
cross this
says
river.
Kenny, and
It's too deep.
he goes into the
I
room.
must stay here.
Kenny searches the room, but he cannot find
There was
the
a
money
big tree near the
from the
river.
robbery.
I'll climb the tree. I
Perhaps
will be
I'm
safe
wrong
there
about
from the
her,
wild
he
animals.
thinks. Then, he hears
So,
somebody. Ataburga
opening the
began
door
to live in the tree
with a key.
She
It's
collected
Mel.
fruits and
Kenny
leaves
runs
for
into
her
the
food,
bathroom,
and she
A minute
drank
later,
the water of the river. He hears Mel talking into the phone.
Hi, Fran. No, I'm at the motel. No, I'm leaving in an hour. Yes, okay.
Kenny looks out carefully
Now a
from
rich
the
man
bathroom.
lived not far
He
away.
cannot get to the door
Every day,
but his servant
he can
girl
get to
came
the
down
window,
to the
He moves
river
quickly.
to fetch water. Mel
One
puts
day,
down the phone.
the girl walked
Kenny
under
watches her
Ataburga's
through the
tree.
window to the edge of the river. I must
She
get
put her
away
pot
from
down,
here, he
and
thinks,
began
to fill it. Kenny cannot go back
Ataburga
into
was
room
sitting in the
17,
tree above,
but he can
the
open the
girl's
window
head.
to room 18.
When the
girl filled her pot, she looked
Kenny
down
climbs
at the
into
water,
room 18,
and she saw
There
Ataburga's
is
face. Nobody there. He goes across to
That's
the door,
my face.
but then he sees something. The girl thought.
What's that?
Oh,
he
how
thinks.
beautiful
Is it a
I
wig?
am.
She looked at
It
the
is.
face in the water.
It's a
Again and
blonde
again.
wig.
That is
Kenny
not the
searches the
face
room.
of a servant
Here's
girl.
a black motorcycle coat. She thought. He says to himself.
It's the face of a princess. I'm
what's
not
this
going
in
to
this
be a
bag?
servant anymore. I'm going to
money
find a
from the
rich man to
robbery.
marry me.
Kenny hears somebody
She dropped
coming.
her pot on
he
the
wants
ground,
to get out of the room,
and it broke.
but he cannot.
It
Ned
doesn't
comes
matter.
into the room.
It was
He
just
sees
an
Kenny.
old water pot.
What
I
are you
don't
doing
need
in
it
my
now.
room? Says
I'm
Ned.
beautiful. I'm going to be a
Then he
princess.
sees the blonde wig and the money. She ran back
He looks
to the
at
rich
Kenny
man's
again.
house. But before she
You know,
reached it, says
she
Ned,
began
to think. Yes, I know, says Kenny.
I broke
You're
my
the
master's
Los
pot,
Angeles
and
supermarket
he
robber.
is waiting for his bath. He will be angry
Suddenly,
with me.
Ned takes a gun from his coat.
I must take another pot
Don't
and go
move,
to
he says,
the river again.
And he takes the bag from Kenny. So, the servant
You
girl
can't
fetched
get away,
another pot
says Kenny.
and went back to the river. But
Yes,
again,
I can,
She
says
saw
Ned.
Ataburga's
He
face
hits
in
Kenny
the
on
water.
the head.
Then he locks him in
It's
room 18.
true.
She cried.
I am the most beautiful girl in the world.
She dropped the second pot. It broke too. Then, Ataburga spat on the girl from the tree. The girl looked up and saw him.
Oh, I am not beautiful at all. The face in the water was not mine. It belongs to the girl in the tree. I will tell my master. I have broken two
A
of his
minute later,
pots.
Mel
But
is
when he
looking
sees
across
this girl, he
at the
will
river
not
from
be
her
angry
room.
with me.
Suddenly, she sees a man running. So, the servant girl ran home to her master. What's the matter with him? She thinks. Why is he running? Then, She sees Kenny come
Master,
out
I saw a
of the
girl
next
in a
room.
tree beside the river today.
That man.
She was as
he's the
beautiful
Los
as
Angeles
Saint Mary.
supermarket robber. Stop
She
him.
is the most
Somebody.
beautiful girl in the world. I was very
Ned
surprised.
hears him and looks up. Then
I
he
broke
gets
your
on his
water pots.
motorcycle and drive off quickly. Don't worry about the water pots. The rich man said, "Where's this girl? I want to see her."
Come to the river with me. I will show you.
So, the rich man followed the girl
I can't stop
to the
him.
river. Says Mel. He stood under the tree. She climbs down from her looked up. He saw Adaberga. She runs around the motel. Was right. Gets off her motorcycle. The most beautiful and goes after Ned. World. Mel rides her motorcycle quickly towards the river. "Beautiful girl," he said. "Why are you hiding? Have you done something wicked? Does your family want to punish you?" When she gets to the river, didn't answer. She jumps. She said nothing. Across the river rich man on the motorcycle, turned to his servant and go back to my front house. Of Ned, he said. "Bring me my spear and his motorcycle." Goes into the river. Home. She came back again, quickly with the carpets and the spear. "I can't swim." The rich man stood the spear in the ground. Some people helped Ned out of the water. The sharp point of it was below coming from the motel. Kenny runs across to Mel. He put one carpet on one side of the spear. "Are you okay?" And the other carpet on the other side. Then, yes, he spoke to Adaberga. She says, "Are you all right?"
Jumped down from the tree.
Yes,
he said,
says
"Perhaps
Kenny.
you are a bad
I'm
girl.
all right."
Perhaps you did
Soon
something
after,
wrong,
the police
and your
arrive
family is
and
angry
takes
with
Ned
you.
away. Kenny tells
Is that why you ran
his
away?
story.
Is that
Then
why
Mel
you are
tells
hiding up there in the tree?
policewoman her story.
If that is the reason, you will
"Do
fall
I
on
know
the spear.
your face?" The
But
policewoman
perhaps
asks
you
Mel.
are a good girl. Perhaps
"Are you
someone tried
famous?"
to hurt you, and you ran away to
Mel
save your
laughs.
life.
"Perhaps you
Is
do."
that why you
She
are hiding
says,
in the tree? If that
"I'm on
is the
TV
reason,
sometimes."
you will fall on the carpet.
"Now I remember you." Adaberga jumped
Mel.
down from the tree. She fell on the carpet. "You're Mel Palmer, the rich man, the famous
picked
stunt
her
girl.
up.
I see you on Stunt Girls Marry USA,"
Me,
he said,
on TV.
"So,
Sometimes
Adaberga married him." Mel smiles. "Yes, that's me," she says. "Now, do you want to come San Francisco? On my motorcycle? Or do you want to go? On the bus?" Now, a new life began for Adaberga. "I'm coming with you." She was the wife of a rich man, laughing. She lived in a big house, slowly, and she had many servants. She forgot about her mother and her brothers. She was happy, but Adaberga's fourth brother did not forget his sister.
He left his mother's house, and he began to travel everywhere. He was looking for Adaberga. It was very hard for Adaberga's brother. He could not use his legs, but only his arms. He needed other people to help him. One day, he came to the rich man's house. He sat outside under a tree. Adaberga's servants saw him. They ran to Adaberga.
There is a man outside your house, under the tree. His face is like your face, his eyes and his nose, his mouth, and his hair. They are all like yours. Is he a relative? Does he come from your family?
I have no relatives. I have only one brother, and he is disabled. Go and look at the man again. If he is disabled and cannot walk, come and tell me.
The servants hurried out to the tree again. Soon they came back to Adaberga. They all said,
He looks like you. His hair, his eyes, his teeth.
But is he disabled? Can he walk?
Her servants looked at each other. They said at last,
We don't know. He was sitting on the ground. We didn't see his legs.
I will see him myself, Adaberga said. Her servants put carpets down on the ground for her, and Adaberga walked outside. She went to the tree and saw her brother. She was very happy. She ran to him and kissed him. "Oh, my dear, dear brother," she said, "come into the house. You are tired and hungry. You must rest, and I will make a delicious meal for you to eat." She took her brother inside. She washed his feet and gave him the finest food to eat and juices to drink. Her brother finished his meal at last. "Now," said Adaberga, "you must listen to me. My husband is not here tonight, but he will come home tomorrow. He is a good man, but he likes to trick people. Ask if you can help him. He will say something strange. Perhaps he will say, "Kill my cattle." Don't do it. Look after the cattle for him. Or perhaps he will say, "Take my cattle to the desert. Don't let them drink water. Then, you must take them to the river and let them eat and drink." Listen carefully to his words and do the opposite. The next day, Ataburga's husband came home. "My brother is here," Ataburga said. "He wants to help you." "Ah," said her husband, "that is good. He can take the cattle up to the mountain and push them over the cliff." Ataburga's brother smiled at her. "Good," he said. "I will do that." The next morning, he went out with the rich man's herdsmen. He took the cattle to the valley, and they ate the good green grass. That evening, the rich man was happy with his brother-in-law. He went to his box and took out some hairs from a sheep, some hairs from a goat, some hairs from a cow, a mule, and a horse. He put them in a sack and gave them to Ataburga's brother. He gave him a stick too. "Go home," he said. "Take this sack with you. When you reach your house, beat the sack with the stick." "Goodbye, dear brother. May God go with you," Ataburga said. So, Ataburga's brother went home. When he arrived, he stood outside the hut.
He took out the sack and beat it with the stick. At once, hundreds of sheep and goats, cows, mules and horses ran out of it. He looked at them and laughed. He was very happy. "I am a rich man now," he thought. "Thank you, dear brother-in-law." His brothers heard the noise of all the animals. They came out of their hut. "What happened to you?" they said to the fourth brother. "Where did you go? And where did you get all these animals?" "I went to find our sister," the fourth brother said. "She has married a rich man. He gave all these animals to me." The oldest brother was not happy. "My youngest brother is rich, and I am poor," he thought. "I will go to my brother-in-law. He will give me sheep and goats, cows, mules and horses, and I will be rich too." So, the eldest brother went off to find Ataburga. He came at last to her house and sat down. Under the tree, he called to her servants. "Find your mistress," he said to them. "Say to her, 'Your brother is here.'" The servants went to Ataburga. "Another of your brothers is here," they said to her. "He is sitting outside the house, under a tree." "Another brother?" Ataburga said angrily. "I don't have another brother. I only have one." But she went out to the tree. Her oldest brother jumped up. "Dear Ataburga," he cried, "my lovely sister." Ataburga did not smile at him. She didn't kiss her brother. She didn't talk to him. That night, Ataburga's husband came home. Ataburga's brother was very polite to him. "Please," he said, "let me help you. Let me take your cattle out tomorrow." "Very well," said his brother-in-law. "Take them to the desert and kill them all." Ataburga's brother was surprised. He looked at Ataburga, but she didn't look at him. She didn't speak to him. The next day, Ataburga's brother took his brother-in-law's cows to the desert and killed them all. That evening, he said to his brother-in-law, "I obeyed you, brother. I took your cows to the desert, and they are all dead. Where is my reward?" His brother-in-law went to his box. He took out some hairs from a lion and a leopard, and some hairs from a hyena, an elephant, and a buffalo. He put them in a sack and gave them to Ataburga's brother. He gave him a stick, too. "Go home," he said. "Take this sack with you. When you reach your house, beat it with the stick." "Thank you," said Ataburga's brother. He was happy. "I will be a rich man soon," he thought. He hurried home. When he arrived, he stood outside the hut. He took out the sack and beat it with the stick. At once, hundreds of lions, leopards, hyenas, elephants, and buffaloes ran out of the sack. They turned on Ataburga's brother and ate him. Then they ran away. Ataburga and her husband lived happily for many years and had many fine children. And Ataburga's fourth brother was rich and happy too for the rest of his long life.
Oh my God.
Where did English come from?
English is one of the main languages for communication in the world. We have been learning and improving English every day. So, have you ever wondered where English comes from? Today, we will discover this together.
Tiếng Anh là một trong những ngôn ngữ chính để giao tiếp trên thế giới. Chúng ta đã và đang học hỏi và trau dồi tiếng Anh mỗi ngày. Vậy thì, có khi nào bạn đặt câu hỏi tiếng Anh có xuất xứ từ đâu không? Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau khám phá điều này nhé.
Have you ever wondered, why do people speak English? Or, where did this language start? Well, let's begin our journey many, many years ago. A long time ago, there were no English words like hello or good morning.
In fact, there was no English at all.
Thousands of years ago, people in different parts of the world spoke different languages. There were no books, no schools, and no internet. People spoke languages that were very different from English. But over time, things began to change. The early tribes Let's travel back to a place called England around 2,000 years ago. Back then, the people living in England didn't speak English. They spoke a language that was very old and hard to understand. There were many small groups or tribes in England. These people were called the Celts. They lived in small villages, hunted for food, and made clothes from animal skins. Their language was completely different from the English we speak today. But then, something happened. People from other countries came to England and they brought their languages with them. The first group of people to come to England were the Romans. The Romans came from a place we now call Italy. They spoke Latin, not English. The Romans were very powerful and strong. They built roads, houses, and big walls in England for many years. Latin was the main language used in England, but it was still not English. The Germanic tribes
After the Romans left, a new group of people came to England. These people were from Germany and Denmark. They were called the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes. These groups spoke languages that were similar to each other. Their languages were different from Latin, and they didn't speak like the sounds. The Angles, Saxons, and Jutes were very important in the history of English. In fact, the name England comes from the word Angles. When the Angles and Saxons started living in England, their language became the most common. People started to speak a language that we now call Old English. But don't get confused, Old English doesn't sound like modern English. It was much harder to understand. For example, the word house in Old English was hus, and the word king was signing. Can you imagine speaking like that today? It would be very strange. Old English grows. For many years, the people in England spoke Old English. It was the language of farmers, kings, and everyone in between. But even Old English was not the end of the story. Over time, more changes came to England. New groups of people arrived and brought their languages with them. One of the biggest changes came when the Vikings arrived. The Vikings were people from Norway and Sweden. They were strong warriors and sailed across the sea to England. When the Vikings came, they also brought their language, which was called Old Norse. Old Norse and Old English mixed together. Some words we use today come from Old Norse.
For example, the word sky comes from the Vikings. Isn't that interesting?
The Norman Invasion. After the Vikings, another big group of people came to England. These people were the Normans, and they came from France. The Normans were led by a man named William
the Conqueror. In the year 1066, William and his army came to England and took over. When the Normans came, they brought their language, which was French. For many years, the kings and rich people in England spoke French. But the regular people still spoke Old English. Over time, Old English and French started to mix. This is why we have many English words today that come from French. For example, words like restaurant and ballet are from French. The birth of Middle English. After many years, Old English changed so much that it became a new kind of English. We call this language Middle English. One of the most famous books written in Middle English is called The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. Middle English is still not the same as modern English, but it is a little closer. In Middle English, many words were simpler than Old English. The sentences were easier to understand, and more French words were part of the language. Here's an example of Middle English. One that a pro with his showers suit means when April with its sweet showers. It's still difficult to understand, but you can see how English was slowly changing.
English keeps changing. After a long time, people started to speak and write in a language that was closer to the English we speak today. This change happened about 500 years ago. We call this time modern English. Even though it was called modern English, it was still not exactly the same as the English we use now. One of the reasons English changed was because of a famous man named William Shakespeare.
Have you heard of Shakespeare? He was one of the greatest writers in history. Shakespeare lived around 400 years ago, and he wrote many plays and poems. Shakespeare invented many new words and phrases that we still use today. For example, words like lonely and hurry we first used by Shakespeare. Imagine how different English would be without these words. English today. Now, we have reached the English we speak today. English is spoken by more than 1 billion people around the world. That's a lot of people. But even today, English is still changing. New words are added all the time, especially with the rise of technology. For example, words like internet and email didn't exist 100 years ago, but now we use them every day. So, where did English come from? It came from many different places. It started with the early tribes of England, mixed with the languages of the Romans, the Germans, the Vikings, and the French. Over thousands of years, English has changed and grown into the language we speak today.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe my channel for more interesting stories.